Hello, 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 everybody. Coach Hadassah here, metaphysician, emotional wellness coach, wellness entrepreneur, and youth division global expansion leader with Extreme FX Global Academy, where Bitcoin and Forex collide because that is where the money resides. I'm going to go ahead and pop in my little earpiece here. So I don't know, if it pick up background noise or whatever. But I try to do the best that I can with that. But listen, I wanted to come on here to uh just share some things that have been on my heart and mind. Um and I don't want to be too long. I can't because I need to make a couple of phone calls. But as you see, look, I'm in here working. Look, working in my robe, working in my robe, have already made at least half of my goal, of my income goal for this morning. Um, I'm yeah, I've done that, and it's so funny because I stepped away from my computer, right? I stepped away from my computer for a minute to do some things. I had took a phone call or whatever. And then I happened to look back at my chart and I'm like, yo, whoa, right? As traders, if we would have caught that move, depending on your lot size, you talking about um what, $300, $3,000, $30,000, or $300,000 in, let's see, how long was that move? How long did that move take? I don't know. It that was a, let's see, what time frame was that in? In an hour? No, that's 15. Was that 15 minutes? No, that's 15. That's 30. That's in about 45 minutes. In 45 freaking minutes. I cannot make this stuff up. Can't make it up. Can't make it up. But listen, when I'm looking at these charts in Forex, right? Because I'm $1 million trader, right? When I'm looking at these charts, I'm just, it amazes me. It amazes me every single day, every single time about our Heavenly Father. You're going to hear me say the name Yahweh because that's how I was introduced to my Creator, right? So, um, here's the thing. I've been in, when I began to learn this scriptures for myself, right? I was about 16 years old. And my grandmother, my maternal grandmother, taught me the basics. Okay. She taught me the basics. And with that, I just grew, I grew in this thing. I grew in the gospel, still growing, still growing. But when I tell you what was drilled in us as ministers, okay, as ministers, as ordained ministers, and I began that at 16 years old. I started learning at home at about 15 because my grandmother had came, here, and she was um watching or babysitting my children for me so I could go to school. But it started then. But it wasn't until Well, I won't get into that part. I'll talk about when I sat at my grandmother's feet and she taught me the fundamentals, right? The fundamentals of the scriptures. And then when I actually came into the Bible class, I was able to, I was able to get it, grasp it. And when I tell you the things were drilled, they're drilled, the basics, what we call that migratory chart or that migratory pattern, an elementary chart. These are what we call these charts, right? Now follow me because I'm going somewhere with this. Um, this was drilled in our head over and over and over and over and over again. And it was one of these lectures because Dr. Henry Clifford Kinley, he had started these Bible classes, and we're like, all across the world, basically all across the globe, here in the States and foreign countries as well. Um, he has this one lecture that's called Tired of Repetition. And it was basically where, you had students that was just tired of hearing the same thing over and over again. Like, oh, when we gonna stop talking about this. And so basically in that lecture, what he was saying was, number one, we learn through repetition. We learn through repetition. We learn from the basics. We learn from what's over and over and over again, right? What's repeated. Uh, because that gets into our heart memory. Intellectually, you get it, but it's that repeated contact, that over and over and over again, where it becomes, again, from your heart. Think about it. You do the same things over and over and over and over again, you're going to get the same results over and over and over and over again. So if you're doing something and you getting these same results and you don't like those results, you got to do something different. And then try that and see if those results work. So anyway, um, with this, what we call a migratory pattern or this migratory chart, it's basically the story where, the children of Israel, first of all, let's say it started with Abram, who turned Abraham. All right. And because his experience with Yahweh changed his name. So Abram turned Abraham because Yahweh promised him that he would be a father of many nations. At the time when he was having his experience with Yahweh, he didn't have a child at all. He didn't have one at all. And so, as the story goes, and we would have to go to another book in order to get the full story. As the book of Jasher. And the book of Jasher is not in the Canaanized Bible. That's when you really start to research, right? And not just take just I mean, yeah, you want the basics or whatever, but then you have to start digging, right? How do people know if you really, really, really want something unless you start seeking? That's what Joshua said. Asking you shall receive, seek and you shall find, right? Knocking it shall be open. So in the book of Jasher, it gives a detailed account. It's like a detailed account of the book of Genesis. So in Jasher, basically what was going on or what was happening, and even Abram's birth, when he was born, and his father, called his guys up, hey, I got a son. They were celebrating and everything. And so when it was three men, look, three wise men, again, that principle, same principle, right? Different manifestation, was leaving his house. They left and they looked up and they saw this star that shot across like four corners, right? And so when they saw, now we call them wise. The reason why they call them wise men is because they were astrologers. They knew how to read the time, read the heavens, or the timing, right? The planetary and luminary movements or transits in the heavens is the universal time clock, to where you know what time it is. So when they saw that star shoot across, four corners. Um, they was basically like, surely this child is a special one, and this child is gonna rule the earth. Right? That's what they said. This child is gonna rule the earth. Um, so so later on down the line, as Abraham grows or whatever, and then there's some stuff that happened in between, there, even with his birth and everything. Like, yeah, it was a whole lot, but I'm not gonna get into that. So anyway, what had happened was, um, um, he grew up or whatever, and he's watching his father, um, very good craftsman, knew how to make stuff, and he were making these figurines or whatever and selling them in the marketplace, and people were, buying them and praying to them and burning incense to them and worshiping them and things like that. And so his father would do the same thing. He's making them, then he's bringing them in the house and, worshiping them or whatever. And Abraham, or Abram, was just looking like, like something is not right with what you're doing. Right? And so he's telling his father, like, why are you, I just watched you cut the tree down, take it over here in the, let's just say, the garage or whatever, and do what you do with it, and then you bring it in the house and you praying to it. Like, what are you doing? So he's out here in nature, and he's just like, within himself, he's out in nature and within himself, and he's like, I want to know who, because I'm watching what my father doing. I'm watching what everybody is doing, and they out here just worshiping these things. But I want to know who made the heavens. I want to know who made these trees. I want to know who made the rivers. I want to know who made the grass. I want to know who made these insects. I want to know who made me. I want to know who made all of this. And when he evoked that within himself, that's when he started hearing the creator speak to him, because he wanted to know. He really, really wanted to know. And that is when he began his own experience with the creator speaking right to him within his own consciousness. He became conscious of his environment. He became conscious of the fact that everybody around him, something was wrong, and he wanted to know about his environment. He wanted to know who created the environment that he was in. And that is when he started hearing the spirit speak to him right within himself. Okay. And that began the promises, right? And Yahweh told him this. He said, first of all, get away from your kindred, get away from them. We just gloss over that story, right? We just gloss over it. And I won't even say we, because we know where this is happening at. That's just glossed over. But Yahweh told him, you got to get out of this environment. It's a sick one. Get out of this environment. Go to this other place, and I'm going to bless you there. Now, that other place where he was telling them to go, you know, they call it Canaan's land, of course. He's like, I'm going to bless you over there. Right? So, he was like, okay, I'll go, but he was basically like, what's in it for me? Okay. And Yahweh told him, he was like, I don't even have a son. He said, oh, you'll be the father of many nations. I'm going to give you a son, and you will be the father of many nations. But go over there. So that entered the covenant, the agreement that was had between them, right? If you go over there, you go over to this land that you don't know nothing about. I'm going to bless you over there. I'm going to give you a seed from your wife, and you're going to be a father of many nations. And so Abraham trusted. He trusted him. That was the faith. Faith means to trust. He trusted what Yahweh right within his own consciousness said, and Yahweh showed him the vision of the place, and then he went on that journey. Now, it was a whole lot of things that happened with Abraham between that time too. You know, him and his wife Sarah went on over there, oh my gosh, it was a lot. You have to read the story. It was a lot. But then Yahweh also told him what was going to happen with with his generations to come. He told him, he said, look, do know for a surety that your seed will go down into Egypt, right? They will be evilly entreated. Like they're going to treat them bad. He said, but they will come out with great substance. Okay. They're going to come out with great substance. They're going to be okay, but they're going to go down and they're going to treat them bad. He knew all of this stuff beforehand. Okay. And so when it was time for him to take off the flesh, make his transition, he sat down, with with his children, let them know what was going to happen. Like, look, I walk with Yahweh all the days of my life. These are the things that happen. Some good days and it was some bad days, but I walked with Yahweh the whole time, right? The whole time. And do know that these are some things that's going to happen to, you all and your children's children. But stay with Yahweh like I did, right? Stay with Yahweh like I did. He will continue to bless us as long, right? You got to stay with him. Okay. And then that happened, right? This, what we call this migratory track or this migratory pattern. And that pattern repeats itself over and over and over and over again. It repeats itself. It's the structure. Now, in trading, we're drilled with market structure because it's the structure. You don't leave off of that. You don't deviate from that. Just like in class, in the Bible class, where we learned that migratory pattern. That is the pattern. That's the structure. And it don't deviate from it. Market structure and that migratory pattern, it's the same. It's the same. And that's why we can look at these charts, whether it's the chart in class or whether it's these charts that in Forex, it's the same. It is the same. And I'm also looking at even in history, with the history of things, how when Dr. Henry Clifford Kinley, little black man out of Springfield, Ohio, was given this divine vision and revelation straight from Yahweh after he was preaching and everything in the, Church of God in Christ for 15 or so years and everything. And Yahweh showed him what this thing was really, really about. And then everything that happened with him and transpired with him afterwards. Now, in the time when that happened to him, where he had that divine encounter with Yahweh himself, he was shown a panoramic vision, charts, all of these things. But at the time when that happened, what was going on? let's see, it was 1930 or 1931. There's some discrepancy with that, but 1930, 1931. But during that time, you know what was happening? Great Depression. That was happening. Um, and then maybe a couple of years prior to the Spanish flu pandemic, they had experienced a shutdown. That's what was happening. A wealth transfer was happening at that time as well. When you look at the transits, universal time clock, Uranus was in the sign of Taurus. And that sign has to do with earth resources, money, value, all of those things. Uranus is in Taurus right now, and it will be over 7 years. But we're about halfway into those 7 years. If you look at the scriptures with Joseph, right? When he was he was in prison, basically. And the king had this dream of 7 fat cow and 7, lean cow. And Joseph was able to interpret the king's dream. But he was in jail, and it was some prisoners that was down there with him, and they both had dreams, and he interpreted their dreams, and he told them. He didn't sugarcoat anything. He didn't, want to do the little tickling, preaching ears or whatever, where you tell people what they want to hear and it sound good or whatever. He just gave it how it was. Like, listen, your dream, sorry to tell you, homie, but you're going to die. They're going to behead you. You will be restored. Then the other one, you will be restored back to your position. So when you are, please remember me. Like, just remember me when you get out. Like, homie, when you get out, remember me, right? So that's what happened. So when the king had this dream and he was disturbed, didn't know what was going on, what was it about, or whatever, and he brought all of his look. Don't think that these people in the higher elite, upper echelon or whatever don't use astrologers and psychics and sorcerers and all of that. Yes, they do. They do. They have us to believe that, oh, that's witchcraft, or that's the all right. You can go ahead and stay in the dark about spiritual things, because those are spiritual things. It's just that there are people who utilize that for evil purposes. You can take that same thing and use it for good. So anyway, but he brought all his astrologers and sorcerers and magicians and everybody, and none of them was able to really satisfy his he was still troubled in his spirit about it. So he knew that, okay, something is off. Right? It's still like but it was that way because Yahweh had set up Joseph or Yosef for such a time as that, right? Such a time as this. So the man that was in prison, remember, he was like, you know what? When I was locked up, basically, I was in there with this man who interpreted my dream and the other person's dream for us, and that's exactly what happened. Like, it came to pass. That one guy, he told him that y'all was gonna behead him, and that's exactly what y'all did. And he told me that I would be restored back to my position, and yeah, I'm here. I'm right here. So maybe you want to get him and try him out, see if he can interpret your dream. And so they went and got Joseph, and the king told him about his dream, and he let him know. He said, okay, well, yeah, there's 7. He said there's 7 fat cow. There's going to be years of plenty. You're going to have 7 years of plenty. And then the 7 lean cow coming up to swallow up the 7 fat cow. You're going to have 7 years of famine. Um, and so he's like, so in the time of this plenty, you need to store up, because when that 7 years of famine hit, how you gonna feed the people? How you gonna feed the country? That's what kings are supposed to do, right? You're not just supposed to sit there and be a dictator or whatever, right? Kings look at the welfare of the people who they are leading or governing, right? So King, like, okay, since you seem to be the man with the master plan, I mean, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna put you over that. Handle that. Okay, cool. And that's exactly what Joseph did. He already he Yahweh was with him. He already had that ability. He was doing that before, right? And so when that happened, because it did come to pass, look, Joseph's brothers, because he had a dream. He had at least documented twice, and his brothers was trying to kill him because of that, but they didn't. But hey, it just was what it was. And them same people that was trying to kill him, his own people, his own brothers, right? His brothers and his father and everything, they had to come to Egypt. His father thought he was dead. Most of his brothers thought that he was dead, because it was only two that went back and was like, you know what I'm saying? Let's get him up out of here, but we're gonna sell him to the Egyptians. So the other brothers thought he was dead anyway. The brothers and the father thought he was dead, but he wasn't. But they didn't know who he was, because when he showed up in royal apparel, right? And was feeding the very people that attempted to kill him. And so, guess what? In the end, everybody ate. You know what I'm saying? Everybody ate. The country didn't suffer. The entire country, okay, didn't suffer famine, because they had stored up. His brothers and his father and everything, they was reunited, all of that kind of stuff. And they kind of went back and forth for a minute. That's in the story of Jasher. So don't think it was just all oh, you tried to kill me, but everything was all good. No, in the story of Jasher, you will see they went toe to toe for a minute. It was funny, but they went toe to toe for a minute, and then it was revealed or whatever. So that's what was it in the end. Now, how does it relate to these charts and all of that? And then that story happening all over again. There was that's that figure 8, regeneration, life. Because life, that's what life is. Infinity, it's ups and downs, ebbs and flows. It's all of that. Ups and down, ebbs and flows. So look, that happened. And after Joseph and all of that generation passed away, there came up a new Pharaoh, and the children of Israel, they were still down there in Egypt. And then this king that came up wasn't a good one. He had an evil heart, and he just wanted them to build up treasure cities for him, while they were just heavily taxed, because that's what evil kings do. Just absorbent taxes. Tax them. They were steady working, but with the work that they were doing, it just wasn't enough. Like, we're doing all of this work, and we're dying. Our children are dying. Like, everything's just dying. But we building up these pyramids. Okay, we building up these pyramids, but we dying. Our children dying. And they were just crying out. Then here come Moses, right? Here come Moses, who it was a death decree put out on him, because again, them having astrologers knew that it was somebody that was going to come along and overthrow them. And they knew that they was going to come from out of the Hebrew lineage, and they was trying to kill up all the male children before that person could grow in order to overtake the king or Pharaoh. It's an overturn, it's a repeat. But of course, we know how the story ends. They came up out of there. But what is the principle of that? And how does that relate to us today in the time that we're in, to where it does become a reality with us, right? We don't want to just stay back there. How can we bring that up to date in the time that we're in right now? Because as the story goes, right, they came up out of there with great substance. There were 10 devastating plagues that was poured out, right? But they did see the death of a lot of their children. I mean, 2 and under. They were killing up the male Hebrew children. They were killing them up. All right. Before they could even, they was babies. They were babies. What does that look like today? What does that death look like today? It looks like these immunizations where if you, and I ain't telling nobody get vaccinated, not vaccinated, whatever, that's on you or how you want to do. But scientists, do the research. Scientists are letting folks know, like, these immunizations, this stuff that they have going on now, it's causing this skyrocket of autism that people are seeing in their children. It's causing all of these just these different developmental delays, ADD and ADHD and again autism, and just all of these different things where it stunts the growth. It's just doing crazy stuff. Do your research on it. But I'm saying that scientists are saying are looking into it. That's what they do. That's what they do. Look at the scientific research and know what you're putting in your body and in your children's body. How is it stunning their growth? Death happens in many different forms. Many different forms. And so that's what was going on at that time. But for as many that was lives lost there were many that came up out of there too. And they came out with great substance. It says spoil the Egyptians. Spoil, when you look up that word in the dictionary, means to rob. It said rob the Egyptians, okay, of their gold and their silver and their fine linens. Sound like the Forex market to me. That's what we're doing. But because we're in the time that we're in now, and technology and the progression, we can do it right at home on our laptops, on our phones. That's what we're doing, right? There are many people that are complaining about their jobs and things like that. They may absolutely love what it is that you do, but the environment, we talked about that earlier, about the environment. And environment is everything. There's scientific research on that. How you turn on and off a gene. It's called epigenetics. Epigenetics. Look it up. Like, go on YouTube, put in epigenetics. Bruce Lipton, right? Greg Braden, all of that. Dr. Joe Dispenza, talk about epigenetics, where with the scientific research, with disease, all of those things. It's like, it's the environment. It's the environment. You're not genetically predisposed to different, sickness and disease that, oh, well, this running my family, or that's running my family, or whatever. That's the reason why Yahweh told Abraham to get away from his kindred. It was something sick that was going on, right? They had this genetic pre disposition of idol worshiping. That's a sickness. It's the disease of the mind. He's like, get out of that environment. What epigenetics tells us is that, like, say diabetes or heart or whatever it is, and this runs in my family, right? Um, and it might run in your family because that's your family's habits. That's their eating habits. That's the way they handle stress. That's the way they live their life, right? And if we're in the same environment, we tend to do the same thing. And so if you get out of that environment, if you change the environment here, it starts here. And then when you come into repetition of doing that same thing over and over and over and over again, those habits, right? Then you form new habits. Then that becomes now heart memory, heart. And now you're doing something different from what your family was doing. And you start looking different and crazy to everybody for at least a little bit until the result starts to show. Okay? Right? Now, guess what that does? It turns off that gene. It turns it off to where, okay, that might have ran in your family, but it stopped from with you. We call that buy up. Okay, I'm sorry. So we call that breaking generational curses and breaking into generational blessings. We talk about that, but do we really understand? Is that a reality with us now? Is it a reality with us? Right? In class, we talk about these charts, the 40 plate chart. And Dr. Kinley said, we'll be eating off these charts. Guess what we doing over here in 4X? I'm sitting up here looking at a chart right now. And these candlesticks, we're in the not the most holy place, but in the holy place that lines up with that wilderness, right? Where they're not in Egypt no longer under Pharaoh or anything like that, the oppressors, but now you're in the holy place or in the wilderness. And in the holy place, what was there is a table of bread, daily bread. That means you can eat, right? The sustenance that the high priest, ate in order to sustain. Okay, we get that money, we call it bread. Get that bread, right? And then that 7-branch golden candlestick. What are we looking at on these charts? What do we look at in the holy place with the 7-branch golden candlestick? That's the light, right? That keeps that temple lit. And for us, we looking at these candlesticks. Look at a flick of the wick, right? We're the candlesticks. Look, candlestick trade and Bible. Oh, both of them, boo. I see clearly. I see clearly. I see the way out that Yahweh has provided in this day and time, not back there. We ain't back there. We look at the history of what was then to know and understand where we are now so that we know where we're going in the future, just like we do with these charts. We look at the history of where price was and what it was doing and what it was going and all of that kind of stuff. So we will know where we are now so that we can see where there's a probability of going in the future. That's the same language to me. It's the same. Right? It's the same. These are biblical principles that are being applied to where you do what? Profit. Now, are you a prophet that profits? And we're not talking about false prophets profiting off of people. We're talking about for real profit that you could get out of this market, and then you share this. What did the children of Israel have to do? Look, when they were down in Egypt and it was time to come out, he said, look, eat this lamb. You got to prepare it a certain way, and you eat it. Mark the door in a post in your house and all that good stuff. If it be too much lamb for your house, share it with your neighbor so that they can eat. Have your loins girded about, have your staff in your hand, because when I say it's time to get up out of here, it's time to go. You got to be ready. You got to be ready to go. What we doing? Sharing. I'm sharing. Some people might not want to eat. They claim they hungry, but maybe they not. Maybe they not. They claim that they're tired of what they got going on or doing or whatever. And then you share the opportunity that Yahweh has truly provided. I mean, for real, for real. I'm talking about this is for the people who really have or was entrusted with Yahweh's vision to bring about the new world, a new earth state. You got people out here, we talking about new world order and all of that. I ain't worried about none of that. I'm not there. But if you want to be saved from that, because we toss that word around too, being saved. You know, I'm saved, or this saved, or that. Saved from what and for what? Because when you save something, like saving money, you're saving it from being spent on something frivolous or whatever, in order to put it to good use for something else. So if you're saved, are you saved from the destruction of the time that you're in order to be saved for a useful purpose, creating a better future for future generations? And that's what we're doing over here. We're applying biblical principles for real, for real. And this is a reality that we're living. We're living it every single day. This is a great buy. This is a great sale going down. This is a great buy going back up. Oh my gosh. I'm knowing for people, including me, um, that I listen, learn. Joshua said, learn of me. Learn of me. Learn. Learn this skill set. Learn it. We got the best thing going. We have the best thing going. You can learn it anywhere else if you like, but for the price point, we have the best academy. We have the best educators. We have the best price point. All you got to do is invest in yourself, because it's not free. Free means free of limitations and constraints and bonds and stuff like that. That's what free means. Free does not mean that it's no cost. It's going to cost you, right? It's going to cost you the life that you have now that you say you don't like. It's going to cost you, it's going to cost you your old life if you want a new one. That's basically all I could say. And with that, I'm out of here now. I would say, I'm like 15 to 45 minutes. We at 45. That's good enough for those who really, really, really want to know and understand and just look at the biblical principles, especially if you know this pattern and you in class, you already you know this. You just have to apply it. This what we were taught What we were taught was for this time. It was for this time today that we're in now. Get off of the charts and apply it and see what we're doing with this. You'll see it. You'll see it clear as day if your mind haven't really been blinded. You'll see it clear as day, and you'll be able to pick up on it a lot faster because you do have that pattern. Um, and this is not something that just applies to us, because it's already people that's over here that they get it because they teaching it. They get it because they're teaching it and profit. So it's time to get off the charts and make this a reality with you in your life. It's happening for us. It's happening for me. I'm still learning, but I got the gist of it. And it was because of the teaching that we received in our ministerial school, you know, um, to where that pattern was drilled in us over and over and over and over again. And I'm so grateful and thankful to Yahweh Elohim. I really truly am, that I did not get tired of repetition. Everybody wants something exciting and new. Okay, do that. But I'll stay with market structure and I will stay with that migratory pattern any day, because you can eat off of that. So with that being said, I'm out. You can, if you're on my YouTube, check the description box below for the information and everything that I was just talking about with Extreme FX Global Academy. You can reach out. My phone number is there. Text XFX, so I'll know exactly who you are and what you're texting me about. Right? Text XFX to 708-927-3400. A lot of times I do not hear my phone ring, so that's why I say text me first, and I will call you back. And that's it. So you guys have a wonderful day. I'm about to continue to eat off these charts. This was a beautiful buy. I mean, sale going down, and this is a good one, a good buy going back up. Man, before this day is over, I might clear some thousands. I'm I'm not gonna do it. I'm really tempted to up my lot size. I really am, but I'm gonna be disciplined. I'm gonna be disciplined. I won't be greedy. But oh my gosh, I'm gonna up this lot size, because this is easily like $30,000. Okay, y'all have a good day. Peace.